Welcome to Energy is Currency, the Millennial Development Podcast devoted to helping you mind your business personally and professionally. My name is Alexis Williams, and I am your marketing consultant, idea generator, and mini modern philosopher, the entrepreneur that checks all the boxes, whatever that may mean. Subscribe to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iHeartRadio to listen to every gem in every episode. Season 1 is available on all streaming platforms. Welcome back to Energy is Currency. We are in another amazing interview. I've been so blessed to connect with so many just awesome energies. So today I have been graced with the presence of George Bakalov. He is going to talk to us about his businesses, how he has transformed his energy into his currency, and some other really fun stuff. So I'm gonna give the floor to him, let him tell us all the things we need to know, and let's have fun. Let's see where this goes.
Hi, Alexis, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the topic and the subject matter you bring to the front,
I appreciate that.
the forefront of our attention, which is energy. And
Yes.
I'll talk about energy in the context of what I do. I'm a certified cybersecurity professional. I've been in technology for over 20 years.
Wow.
So I can go way back when some of the things that we use today. If somebody's starting in technology and I start talking about some of the things that were going on 25 years ago, some of the young people really don't even know. They never use those tools. But things have changed so much. But one thing that hasn't changed, and that is like something that needs to be mastered, like by anyone who's an entrepreneur or a professional in high intensity environment. It really has to do with what this podcast is about. And then so even though I'm going to talk a little bit about cybersecurity, which might be of interest to a lot of your listeners, because their life is digital now, and their life is in their data, right?
Yep.
Your identity could be stolen, in fact, and your business, if you're a small business owner, which is the space where I'm in. My basically to explain it to your listeners without burdening them with a bunch of technological acronyms is I am your gun for hire when it comes to dealing
Okay.
with the bad guys. Kind of like, if a
Okay.
business, it's like a business you don't want to be as a small business to become the expert in finance. You bring in somebody who knows what to do, and you bring them on as a CFO, right? And they run your organization's finances. Similar to information security, it's gotten so complex and
Yes.
so large
Yes.
that it's now separate discipline from IT. A lot of misconception is that, if you have an IT, you got cybersecurity figured out, but that's actually not true.
Yeah.
IT and security are like two separate functions now, because the problem has gotten just so huge. And what I do is I come in organizations from a startup stage all the way to small, medium. I work with enterprise clients as well. However, my favorite space is the small, medium space, and startups and nonprofits, because they're strapped for finances. So I love to come in. And by the way, in my previous life, I was a pastor for many years. So also
Oh, fun.
as a ordained minister in the past, I have this Christian ethic of like loyalty very much. And so I like to see myself as a sheepdog that comes and helps you to keep the sheep safe. And the sheep
Oh,
in this
I
case is your data.
love this.
your
I love
your
this.
data. Think about it. Think about it. Your data, your employees could be under attack. Your customers could be attacked.
Yeah,
Your
nowadays.
your partners could be attacked. So it's a function that it's not just technology. There's a lot of drama and emotions when there's a data breach, for example. It just wrecks people's life, and so that's where I
Yes.
love to come in and work with business owners and leaders to say, what do we have to protect and how do we protect it within budget so we don't break the bank. And basically that's kind of like in a nutshell what I do.
So you're our cybersecurity hero.
I don't think myself as a hero. I'd like to be the hero to my customers who, for example, one executive told me they had gotten breached before I came onto the scene. They had gotten, if you're familiar with impersonation, someone breached their systems and impersonated one of their team, and then they got the finance person to wire, like, $100,000 or whatnot. And I've seen many breaches within that ballpark figure,
Oh my
right? And
lantern.
so here's this for a small business, this could be a big hit, right?
Catastrophic, yeah.
Right. And they were getting hammered with just all kinds of phishing emails and all sorts of attacks. And within my kind of rule of thumb is like within the 90 days of me starting with an organization to work with them, I'm like, within 90 days, if you don't experience a tangible drop in tension, if you don't experience a tangible improvement of your peace of mind, if you don't see and feel, my services are not making difference, I'm probably not doing something right. And so I
I
talked
love
to this
that.
customer who had experienced already this breach and the disaster that it is, and I asked him, I said, so how are we doing? I can see the numbers, I can see the metrics, but he said, you know what? I sleep better because I know someone who knows what they're doing's got this whole thing. And that's where the value is. When when you're a business owner, you want to just keep doing what you're doing and growing your business and not worrying about code compromised, or not worrying about who's going to get hacked, who's going to get phished, who's going to get, how you're going to how your reputation can take a major hit. And so these are kind of the things that I do, and I take great pleasure in bringing a hero to my customers, not to
I
to a headline. I don't want to be in anybody's headline being a hero. I just want to do well for my
but
customers.
but I think that's such an interesting take on how your energy becomes your currency. It's kind of the opposite way. You
Oh
make
yeah,
your money by relieving the energy being drained
absolutely.
from the cybersecurity
Yes,
experiences. And
yes,
that's so I teach at a technical college. I teach at Chattahoochee Technical College here in Atlanta,
okay.
Georgia, and we have a great cybersecurity department. We have some excellent instructors. I know
I'm
several
sure
of
you
the
do.
students in the department,
Yeah.
and I think that conversations like this are so important because one, you can have a skill and a personality and a purpose, okay? And you can also be passion and purpose driven with your skill as well. There are multiple ways
Yes.
of doing it. And I feel like you present a very authentic, purpose driven, people first approach to
Oh,
something that
absolutely.
is
Yes.
outside of the dynamic of it. We don't think about the people when we think about cybersecurity. I think, we think
Oh,
about all the
no,
fancy words,
I'm so glad you said that, because actually, my profile as a cybersecurity manager, if you would, or they call it now, virtual chief information security officer.
Okay.
It's kind of like, think about it. If you have, and again, going back to financial terms, you can have a bookkeeping, which would be security analysts. Those are the guys who are like got their heads buried into analyzing alerts and incidents and things like that, right?
Hmm.
But then you need to have a strategic level view of the entire organization, not
Yeah.
just the digital realm, but the administrative realm and the physical realm. So I come in trying to see as bigger a picture as possible, and what it means is that what has value in a business? It is the people, and it is the assets and the reputation. So
Yeah.
you really have to understand the business, and in the nonprofit's case, the nonprofit's mission or work. And at the end of the day, it's all about people. If it
Yeah.
wasn't about people, what is it for, right?
But
So that's kind of like where I come across: understand the business, align the security goals with the business, not the other way around, and keep the business moving forward in a way that they'll be protected and safe.
I love that. We need so much more of that. I cannot wait for my students at Chat Tech to hear this podcast because they're gonna
Great.
I see a new light within their tunnel and their experience for that because we need more people. I've met, especially with this podcast, I've met so many entrepreneurs and business owners that are coming from a totally different approach towards how they're solving the problem. Because let's face it, there all of our industries are very oversaturated and overpopulated. But the competitive advantage that you bring even that is oversaturated. So how do we find what makes us different and what connects us to our audience? How do we really navigate that? And I think it's just brilliant that you have such a people focused approach towards your
Absolutely.
business. I think that's amazing. So let me
Yeah, I
ask
think
you.
at
Go
the
ahead.
end of the day, I think it kind of goes back to, three things that people, if a business owner, because as a business owner myself, and I've built businesses, I've worked for myself. I worked for one of the main IT providers in Minneapolis for years. I was a director of cybersecurity before I launched on my own. So I've been in different environments, both as an employee and as a business owner,
Okay.
and I understand how that works from that standpoint. But I think when it comes to a business, choosing who to work with, whatever, regardless of what function it is, but let me speak to this function. A business owner doesn't want to learn your technical jargon. They need to know you're, like you mentioned, authentic. You're the real person, because that's what trust comes from. Like if you trust
Yes.
somebody, you need to feel you're connecting with somebody who's a genuine person and likable person too, right? So that's
Right.
where the energy comes. You need to have competence. You really understand. You got to understand your domain,
Yeah.
right? And also they need to believe in your integrity. They need to know you mean your best. One of the things I
Yes.
tell my clients is when I start working with the business, and let's just say the business doesn't have their house in order. Let's just say sometimes we go in and an organization has what we call a technical debt, meaning that for many years they've been patching, 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 and now they're like, "Hey, fix it." And I'm like, "Well, we can fix it, but it's going to take a little time
Yeah.
because you got so much past stuff." So we get them started onto this trajectory where they're lowering the risk, increasing the confidence in the business, and protecting it. And let's say within a year they will be at a better place. Then next
Yeah.
year they're going to be at even a better place, right? So gradually, I'll say, you know what? Within 3 years, you probably will need less of my services in a way. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. Why would I want to stay on your payroll, whether it's a fractional or contractual, whatever it is. I want to be able to bring value to you. And I want you to
Right.
talk to all of your friends about how I lowered your bill because now you have less of work to do. I'm like, whoa, really? That's where
Right.
integrity
Yeah.
comes from.
I love that. We need more integrity based businesses. Um,
You know.
we we just need more integrity based businesses.
And think about it, in
Like if we just did that.
cybersecurity, it's like basically our nemesis are people that need to be right one time. We have to be right every single time. They need to be right one
Wow.
time only.
They only
So
need
when
to
it
be
comes
right
to,
one time only.
yeah, and so
Processing that.
basically it's like getting into a situation where it's like I'm involved with risk to my neck, all right? And essentially that risk that organization has brings with it a certain level of stress. So I need to know how to position that risk not to destroy me, not to bring me to a place of anxiety. I need to protect my customers from that risk and show them how to manage that risk. And that's really kind of like where that whole managerial, like a higher level understanding is. Like, it's not just a technical piece in a corner. Oh, fix that malware, or get me put my employees on multi-factor, which we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually having a strategy, having the business understand the strategy, and for you to understand their business, and then kind of working together to lower the risk and raise the level of just peace of mind and better function on a day-to-day business.
So let me ask you this. Let's pretend I am a new business owner. I'm getting started. What are some things that I can do to be proactive about how I protect my business and protect my
I
identity and
love the
whatnot?
word proactive.
Oh,
Yeah, I
it's one of
love the
my
word
favorite
proactive.
words. Oh, my favorite word is
Yeah.
proactive. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, because really, like one of my mentors says, cybersecurity is just a sexy term for risk management, right? Um, no, it's true. There are many different risks when we talk about entrepreneurship, when we talk about starting a business or
Hmm.
managing a business. There are many different types of business. There's risk, there's market risk, there's
Yeah.
financial risks, there's payroll risk or HR risk. There's all kinds of risks, right? And so technology risk, with which security being one of them, is just one of the risks, right?
Right.
And I would say it really begins with how well someone is prepared and how much experience they have to understand risk in general, and then to understand how risk to their data, risk to their reputation, kind of plays into the whole, into the full package. Does that make sense, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so as a startup, as an entrepreneur who's going to be starting whatever business it is, tell me what business today isn't a digital business. Like, every business
Right.
has to use technology to
Or
advance
something. Yep.
itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so as soon as you got that data, as soon as you have a brand out there online, think about it. That brand could be very successful and bring to you a lot of success, or it could get damaged and get associated with the cyber incident, and people will feel like, I don't know, these people are protecting my data, so I don't know if I want to do business with them, right?
Right.
And that's kind of like where I would say, as a new business owner, incorporate risk management, specifically also risk management to information, from the very beginning stages of your business. And then if you do that, you're going to avoid a lot of technical debt being accumulated over time and creating a lot of problems down the road.
So it's better to get ahead than behind.
Totally.
Way better to get ahead behind. So, okay, shoot, I was gonna ask you a really fun question and it just ran away from me. Hold on, let me look at
I'm
my
sorry
notes.
if I interrupted. I'm
No,
just
you're
feeling
fine.
very
You're
comfortable with
fine.
you, and I
Oh,
hope this is to the benefit of people who, whether you're a cybersecurity professional or a business owner. I kind of sit at the crossroads of both, because sometimes technology people in general, most of the time, are not known for being too maybe user friendly. They're just, and you have to understand, for a lot of our certifications and training, it's just you become consumed with acronyms and
with the
and
language,
jargon.
yes.
You're tested on acronyms. Like,
Yeah,
what
for
does this
sure.
mean, right? And so the industry itself and the training pushes you to become very intense, very, very just aware of the danger, of the risk that you're managing. And people just can't relate to that.
Yeah.
No executive wants to hear about the new firewall configuration. They just lose you right there. But if you talk about lowering the risk by 35%, so we have a better brand positioning and more trust with our customers, every
That
executive
makes
understands
sense.
that.
So that makes me think of one of the principles that I talk about with my students about how to build the right professional team. And I'm sure I've mentioned it on a
Yep.
pod before, but there's four types of people to have on your team. You want your farmer, your hunter, your customer service rep, and your radio tech. And what you're talking about, that person falls in the radio tech group, because the farmer is going to nurture the business. We're going to be here through all the seasons, good, bad, and indifferent.
Yep.
And the hunter is going to go get clients. Now they may not keep clients, but they can get clients. And you sound like you play multiple roles very well,
Oh yeah.
especially with the
Yes.
customer service rep, because the customer service rep is the person who makes sure that the customers follow through, are taken care of, they're nurtured, but not the business, the customer. And then you have the radio
Yeah.
tech. And I fall in love with people when I realize how deep off in their industry that they are, and they heavily speak the language, because it lets me know that they're a radio tech type person. Like, they may not need to be with the customer, but if the customer has an issue, they understand the language of the experience so well that they can
Right.
navigate it from the inside out. And everybody needs one person who can navigate it from the inside out, at least one
Oh,
person.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's so cool.
absolutely. I'll give you an example, because you mentioned how it cuts security cuts across so many different aspects of a business, from,
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, marketing. So because information is everywhere, that's basically, whenever the availability, integrity, or confidentiality, those are the three pillars of information security: confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Whenever one of those three is affected, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you have a breach, right?
Right.
Data that shouldn't be shared with people should be confidential. Data that should not be altered, like you want to log into your bank and find the amount of money that you should have, not it
It's
being
something
altered,
new,
right? It's
right?
right. No, you don't want to go in and find that someone meddled with the numbers, right? And data that should be available to you should be available to you. So those are kind of like the three main stool, the three-legged stool of security. And it's just a different, like you say in your podcast, energy's currency for us. Essentially, security is also a type of currency where things not only have to function, because IT, let's
Yes.
say software developers and IT, software development and IT in general are concerned with building something that works. And you're like, well, that's great. The thing works. And you're like, okay, does it work safely? Oh,
Right. New
and now
question.
that becomes a whole different question
New
because the guy who
question.
built your house, yeah, the guy who built your house hands you the key and says, great house, by the way. Oh, are you protecting it from thieves? Oh, I don't know. You need to talk to the security company to protect that house. It's a whole different ball game,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Does
It
that make
is.
sense?
It absolutely
And so it
does.
it it affects everything from the brand and the reputational aspect of the business to the to finance to data privacy when it comes to people's private information and what that means to their lives. It just cuts across so many different aspects of business. And yes, you're right. You have to be able to speak both the language of the customer as well as the language of business to present a budget to the leadership and say, I need X amount of dollars to for us to build this program and keep you safe, right?
So, what advice would you give to the next generation of cybersecurity specialists? What would you tell them? How can they manage their transition into the industry?
Great question. I'll tell you what I found out in my journey is, first of all, I found an incredibly diverse group of people
Yes.
that
Yes.
in the last 10 years, because the need and demand has been so great,
Mhm.
um, I found some things that are found through experience, not necessarily widely advertised. One of those things is that it's actually quite difficult for newbies to get started. It's one of the
Hmm.
myths. Like you hear, yes, you hear a lot of people talk, a lot of people pitching training, high cost training, right? It costs a lot of money to get certified in some of those disciplines, right? And there's so many different profiles, right? You have some of the most expensive resources in, for example, in forensics, who cost three, four, $500,000 an hour, right, on the high end.
Mhm.
And people are thinking, wow, this is great, I'm going to make a lot of money, but they don't understand that there's a lot of people who are newbies who are just getting started. So there really isn't any shortage with the people who are just getting started. And you
Okay.
really need to build a portfolio of projects. If you're technology
Build a
curious,
portfolio.
build a home lab, being able to present something you've done. Another thing you can do as a start, getting started, is offer, if you're good at something, offer your services to someone for free, and just to build a portfolio and be able to say, hey, I went to this nonprofit or this church and I helped them to secure their website. Look at it, screenshot the evidence, show how it was broken before, show them what you've done afterwards. Build a portfolio of your skills, because your degree might be quite useless to somebody, right? But your skills are always useful, right?
Yes, yes, I
and
love
and
that.
the other thing I'll say also is, really, it takes time to understand your profile. So be willing to be very curious and to really understand. There's so many different profiles of where this can go. Find your specific niche. Like for me, I found out that I am very comfortable speaking to business owners, working with business owners without overburdening them with jargon on one hand. On the other hand, I can deal with technical staff and talent, and to get the job done. So I'm sitting at that place of translating back and forth and bringing
Oh,
value to the business, to saying
yeah.
the business doesn't need to have that because I bring that piece. So you need to find out where your mojo is, and bring that, and that takes time. You got to have be very, very patient.
I love that. That is really wonderful advice. Create a portfolio, create
Hmm.
opportunities for experience, not wait for opportunities for experience, but create opportunities for experience. And
Correct. Yep.
then And then really make sure that you're authentic in what you're presenting. Find what really works for you. What's your sweet spot? I love that. I feel like that can apply to any business or any person coming out of business because we have so many really cool college graduates at the college. I literally just wrapped up commencement recently, and there were so many cybersecurity graduates and IT graduates, and I think this would be super helpful information for them. Just to build that confidence. Especially
Yes.
coming um, from a trade environment. I came from a trade environment. Did you go to? May I ask how did you get into cybersecurity? What was that like? How did you transition from
So
one
yeah,
career to the
it's a
other?
great story. I used to run my own shop, mostly primarily involved with outsourced software development. And the big thing back in the day was like over 10, 15 years ago was just finding good developers and building great product or being a subcontractor to a great developer and so forth and so on. And then in 2013, my team was involved as a subcontractor to security provider in Minneapolis, and we found out ourselves in the midst of the Target breach. If you are familiar with that, I
I
mean, this is
am.
the Target Corporation got breached around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was 2013, and a third-party vendor was breached actually, and through them, the criminals came in and they and siphoned, millions of customers of data. So it was really at that point when I realized, wait a minute, what's happening? The big story here is not if the software is working well. I mean, the Target Corporation is like a Fortune 30 or whatever they are, right? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, how could someone do that to such a big behemoth, right? But like I said before, the bad guys only have to be right one time,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
And they sure and also the other thing you need to understand for that industry, the changes that occur at a very fast pace, the bar has dropped quite a bit for the bad guys to get into the game.
Oh, has it?
Um,
Okay.
yes, it because now of the dark web, a lot of people can find the manuals on how to get involved and how to breach somebody, and so there's a lot more now entrance into that space, and so now it's becoming even more easier for a lot of people with bad intents to get into the game, which is why we need to have more young graduates going for cybersecurity because that's the only way to meet that demand, right?
Oh wow, I
Um,
hadn't
on
looked
the
at
o-
it like that.
on Yeah, on the other hand, our industry is influenced a lot by enterprise, like all the training certifications are pretty much written by enterprise for enterprise. So it's
Okay.
larger organizations that are like, well, hey, we can hire you or we may not hire you. And to get hired, here's what you need to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is that then you have small, medium businesses that are kind of left out
Right.
and they don't have the funds maybe or limited funds to invest in security or technology in general, and that's where I saw the curve back in the day. If a large corporation like that could be breached and has such a devastating impact on them, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sure, they've recovered, but now they will forever, that stain will forever be on them that they were the biggest third party breach in history of corporate America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I began to study. I was like, let me find out more about this, and I realized that the just the curve of the industry was such that it will require people with a lot of experience and particular skills to be able to bring that to businesses. And I decided to change from being involved in just outsourced services with the software development and got into IT and cybersecurity because I just saw the curve. I saw the growth curve of this whole industry, and I thought
That's
it was a
cool.
really good field to invest in. So then, in time, I'll end up being on the also benefiting side of it because you benefit when you bring expertise, when you bring experience.
Yeah.
Many years of experience. That's valuable.
So I think that's brilliant foresight and brilliant forecasting for where the market is going to be. Let me ask you a few questions about AI. How do you feel about how it's bulldozing the market and it's really being saturated and integrated into everyday everyday mundane
Yeah.
activities. How do you feel about its presence, and how do you feel about cybersecurity impact
Yep.
with it?
Great question. Most definitely impacting our lives at every level.
Mm-hmm.
At the at the end of the day, it is a technology, right? It's
Right.
yes, it's very impressive. It's very spectacular in some ways, and what it does, I think everyone's just kind of experienced being in awe of how it spits out responses to complex questions or does searches or whatnot. However, if you understand how the internet works, if you understand how technology works, you do also understand that it's just a tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful tool, but a tool. And and basically everywhere you have information flowing back and forth, you have vulnerabilities. For example, every code, every software that's written has what we call bugs, right? So
Right.
for so many lines of code, you have so many bugs, and everybody knows that, right? That's why you have people, working on improving, and that's why you have patches and so forth and so on. AI is the same. And it presents great opportunities and great benefits to a small, medium, large business, but it also opens up a lot of possibilities for bad actors to get involved. For example, one of the things that in the past we used to use as a signal, as far as like whether a bad guy had written a phishing email, was typos in the way email was constructed or the style of
Yep. Yep. Yep.
language,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we would develop these sandbox processes where, let's say, someone sends you an email. It takes a little time. Why does it take a little time for an email to reach you? Sometimes it's not because an email can't get to you immediately, but because it goes through a scanning process, right?
Got it. Got it.
And then as they scan the email, they'll scan it for malicious attachments. They'll scan the language that it was written in, and sometimes that's how the tools used to work, to say, oh, look at the bad English, that doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
Well, now that's gone because
Oh
the bad guys
no.
can use any GPT.
Got
Now the email is
it. Got
perfect.
it. So the
Now the email is
criminals are more
perfect.
professional now. So it's helping the
Exactly.
criminals be more refined and polished with their emails.
Exactly.
I hadn't
Exactly.
considered
Isn't that
that.
crazy?
I hadn't considered
Uh,
that.
on, on, on the other hand, for us defenders, we also have an advantage as well. We can grab a bunch of code underlying under, whether it's a malicious email or something. We can just grab the code, put it through a GPT, and much faster you could catch inconsistencies and say,
Okay.
yeah, there's something wrong with this email. So we benefit as well. But it's I would say every organization needs to develop a policy on how AI should be used responsibly.
Oh,
Maybe,
okay.
let's say a small business, to prevent the growth of what we call shadow IT. For example, a small business could say, "Hey, look, on our network, we will use such and such provider, such and such, whether it's Microsoft's Copilot or something else. That's what we're going to use. That's what you have access for. If you want to use something else, hop on your mobile connection and do whatever you want on your phone. But as far as our organization, we're going to work with this GPT because we've developed guardrails around it. We have protection around it. We want to make sure that information is not leaking out because
Hmm.
people are uploading all sorts of sensitive data into these GPTs,
Exactly.
right? And so
Yeah.
when you make a choice and decision, we're going to go with such and such provider, then you can better safeguard that experience and then protect yourself and your employees and your organization from malicious use.
What can consumers do to be more proactive about their interaction with Chat GPT? Because sometimes, or not just chat, but any of the AI generators. Because I hear the stuff I hear and see people using like chat for, I'm like, this is stupid. You didn't need. You didn't need
Yeah,
this for
actually,
that, you know?
yeah, no, no, you're right. Actually, on my blog, I have a blog that I write for, again, targeted towards mostly small medium businesses. But one of the blog posts that I put on recently is on psychophancy. This is basically the infatuation people develop with AI, kind of into
Hmm.
role playing. They feel like the AI knows them better than anybody else. things like this, right? And
Uh-huh.
so it's becoming a real problem, especially for young people who are very impressionable. And
Yes.
but it could also be a problem for a business of any kind or nonprofit, because people can upload sensitive data, and that
Yes.
data could get leaked, and you don't want that, because that could mean a lawsuit, someone finding out that, hey, for research purposes, what do you know about so and so and their financial projections for next year? Well, it turns out the AI had that data, and so it's going to answer it, right?
Right, right. Because there's no ownership. Once you go onto their websites, you're on their websites. You're
Right.
giving them data. And I don't think we realize the exchange. That's the thing. I don't think people genuinely understand the exchange of AI information right now. It's not just, oh, I asked a question and it gave me the answer and it did the work for me. You did that in exchange for data collection
Oh,
and
yes,
at
very much like a social
extreme.
media, right? Social media also extracts from you all this information. It's not really free.
Exactly.
You are
Yeah.
you are the product, right?
Yeah, the product is everything you're asking it. Because now it knows
Yeah.
what are typical questions that people would
Yes.
need to, things like that. And so I don't think people genuinely understand the exchange. And I think that's what makes it dangerous.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
makes it
There are
dangerous.
benefits. We always have to burn in perspective,
For
and
sure.
like I said, risk management is all about the benefits and the risk associated with the certain technology. So there's obviously benefits, faster learning, faster development, better development, but on the other hand, all these other use cases that could present. And you mentioned, as consumers, I would say, one of the things you can do, if you're a little bit technical, you can download certain models locally on your system, so they're not connected to a cloud, but they actually operate out of your home computer, so the data never leaves your computer.
Oh, okay.
Of
Okay.
course,
That's great news.
the other thing is secure your computer too, so your computer is not compromised. But if you do, then also you can use AIs locally quite successfully. They're really powerful models, and if you have like a few gigs to spare to download the database, it actually works pretty well.
Okay. And to your point, we definitely have to find the balance in it and the ethical use of it. I think with ethical use, we can maybe sustain the earth a few minutes longer.
Yes.
But I think
Indeed.
that's important. So, how can we get more information from you? How can we connect with you, George?
Sure. I'd love to connect with anybody who just has questions in general, whether they're thinking of starting a business, or they have a new business idea, or how to incorporate security, or they have a small, medium sized organizations or nonprofit. The website is executivesolutions.us. And I also have a blog, plaintalkcyber.com, where people can go and just learn on particular different subjects. And that's the main ways. I'm on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's kind of like the easiest way to get a hold of me.
That's great. I have genuinely appreciated this conversation because put enough, we don't prioritize our digital protection the way that we should. And we need more conversations where it's brought to the forefront, not just the interactions, not just the posting, but how can you protect yourself and at every level, not just the personal level, but even within businesses. How can you genuinely protect yourself, but also still be an active participant in it well? So I
Yes.
think this was really necessary. People needed to
Great.
understand how to restructure their mindsets around risk management. Hey, this needs to be higher up in the conversation, not after it's happened. You've
Yeah.
experienced the impact of the risk, but being proactive about keeping yourself
Yes.
as protected and stable as possible. So I really,
Now,
really,
one
really.
example, because I know you also have deep involvement with marketing, right?
Oh
You're a
yeah.
marketing
Oh
person.
yeah.
So I'll give you another example. My other business, because I do have another business as well. It's a digital marketing business, and I've been in digital marketing for over 15 years as well. And so, digital marketing agencies, for example, sometimes this is very funny in a way. You go in, and a small business wants to just say set up a website or web application, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, so So who's securing that server? Oh, I don't know. It's the hosting company. Then you go to the hosting company and they're like, hey guys, are you securing the server? Oh yeah, we just put some malware protection on it. That's it? Really? So everyone is assuming that somebody else is
Pointing the finger,
guarding the
yeah.
door. Yeah. And so between the marketing agency itself that's concerned with the images and the messaging, I mean, that's their focus. They don't know how the data is flowing and where it can be breached and compromised. The
No.
hosting company thinks you guys own this stuff. Like you should be taking care of it, right? And I've just seen so many gaping holes in how we bring all these different moving parts. And I enjoy coming in and saying, okay, guys, for us to do this secure and build a framework to where you don't have to be running around and patching issues and putting out fires all the time. Here's the process. Here's who's responsible. Build the accountability structure around it, and then you can get going. But now you have guardrails, and so it's another complexity that needs to be overcome, so things can function well without exposing people and taking advantage of people.
I think that's so necessary. I think that's so necessary. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we need. I feel like small businesses don't even know that that's something. Like you've ever heard the phrase "you don't know what you don't know till you realize you don't know
because you
it."
don't know exactly, exactly.
I feel like
Right, which is why we need to do podcasts and things like this because
yes,
as
'cause
you bring it up to people's attention,
if nothing
I
more,
know
we
we
have to plant the seed for conversation. This will create an opportunity for them to start doing their own research and just figuring out where do they stand within this market.
yeah,
I feel like the United States experiences a fair amount of hacking and data
well, we're the number
breaches.
one target. We are the number one target. From the entire world, the
So
United States suffers the most attacks.
so what about was it last year or so when the Social Security office was breached with our social security numbers? Do you have any insight on what that was about?
I don't remember a breach. I mean, I try to stay on top of breach data
But
and
I'm sure
information. I
you're
don't remember
inundated.
the social security gets breached and hacked by third parties quite a bit. So that's one of there's health records. Health records are actually the most expensive on the dark web.
Really?
Most people don't know. Yeah, they're even more expensive than credit card data.
Why?
So health records. I believe because health data is related to an individual in a unique way to where you can maybe wipe out a credit card number, but you can't really delete or remove the actual physical data about someone. It's more permanent in a way. Think about it like a credit card could be made invalid and then it's gone and that's it, right? But
Right.
if I know something about someone's physical problems and they're chronic, for example, then that's there to stay, right? And it can be exploited in many different ways, right? For
Yikes.
spam and things like that.
I'd never
Um,
considered that.
yeah. So credit card data, social security numbers, and you were completely unaware that you signed up for your gym, and then your gym asked you to verify something and punch in whatever, whether it's a phone number or email, and now your gym gets hacked, and you had no idea. You see what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's third parties that you didn't know about that get compromised, and that's how we get exposed. And then my general advice would be try to share as little as possible. Try to limit your footprint on the internet as much as possible. We just gotten into the signing up for 20 different social media accounts and this and that and the other. All this just makes you
Yeah.
and more easily hackable and taken advantage of.
Wow. We probably have no idea how deep in we even are until you said, like you said, that one opportunity tries to wipe you out. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, let us wrap up the show. This was
yeah,
amazing. I would love for people to reach out to you through Executive Solutions
sure,
as quickly as possible to protect and grow their business. But I would love to have you on the show again. Let's chat. Let's keep it
that's
going. Let's
great.
let's keep the people
Absolutely.
informed.
Yeah, if that's okay with you, I'll add you to my list on Plain Talk Cyber. It's not once a month at the most, but kind of keep to the forefront that whole area.
For sure. I
Uh,
would love to come in and hang out with you.
yes, just short educational articles, and I'd love to be your go-to. If hey George, I something funny's blinking on my computer. What do I do? I'll find a way.
We really appreciate it,
My
George.
mouse is moving, George. My mouse is
George,
moving, and I'm
what's
not moving it.
happening?
Somebody else is.
I pray that doesn't happen because I find
No.
myself just getting too scared and just let's just throw the whole computer away, which probably won't fix anything, but it'll help my fight or
Right,
flight.
you're right.
But it'll soothe my fight or flight. Okay. Well,
Right.
you can check out this episode and all the episodes of Energy is Currency everywhere you podcast. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the good stops. And if you need more information about Atlanta-based business development, check out blushbizonline.com. But again, thank you, George. Tell us one more website we can connect with you on. And that way,
ExecutiveSolutions.us.
perfect. Y'all, you know where to go to get security leadership. We have a security hero in the midst. Well, it
Not
was a
really,
pleasure to
but
connect with you, and we will catch you. We'll say it again. It was a pleasure to connect with you, and we will catch you the next time on Energy is Currency.
thanks so much, Alexis. I wish you the best with the podcast and everything else you do, and I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you a small business owner worried about scams like fake emails or people pretending to be your company and putting your customers' information at risk? One data breach can damage trust fast, just like a local business that lost nearly half of its customers after a security issue spread on social media. If you work in a regulated industry, the risks are even higher. A weak tech setup can lead to fines, lost contracts, and unwanted attention from hackers. And while having an in-house IT person helps, real cybersecurity takes specialized experience. George Bakalov at Executive Solutions helps small and mid-sized businesses protect themselves with customized cybersecurity plans without the cost of hiring a full-time security manager. Visit executivesolutions.us and take control of your business security before it's too late.